He's in the house. J-Cole, what do you have for us on Today with Sports News?
Hey everybody, I got a couple of stories on the Olympics today. A lot of diversity going on this year, 2018, so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to address a specific incident that happened in college tennis, and of course, I might talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. Back to you, Trey.
Awesome. Well, today is Monday, February the 5th. You're watching FCN Prime News here on the Fifth Column Network. I'm Trezene, and of course, your news anchor for this evening. Here at FCN Prime News, you know how we do. We aim to bring you your news from a perspective that matters to you. No narratives, no fake news, just the facts, all the facts. And tonight will be no different as I will cover crime, current events, both domestically and internationally, and science news, including do-it-yourself gene therapies for herpes and HIV, and private space exploration that is happening live tomorrow afternoon. With that said, let's go ahead and take some time to share this broadcast with all of our friends and followers so that they can join in on tonight's episode. All right, let's get into our news for tonight. First up, crime and justice news, and we begin with last night's Super Bowl. As you've heard by now, the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the New England Patriots in Super Bowl last night. The victory led to mass rampages and riots across Philadelphia as fans celebrated. While thousands joined in the riots, the mayor's office said police only arrested 3 people. And that pales in comparison to the number of Black Lives Matter supporters that police arrested yesterday as they protested police brutality, racism, corporate greed, and President Donald Trump. Protesters at 3 sites near and around downtown Minneapolis blocked and chained themselves along the light rail transit line near the stadium, temporarily halting trains carrying fans to the Super Bowl. The Star Tribune reports that at least 40 people strung themselves across the Metro Transit Green Line tracks near the University of Minnesota before police forcibly removed and arrested 17, citing unlawful interference with transit. BLM and supporting organizations, including the Anti-War Committee, local unions, and Women Against Military Madness, organized the rally to stand with football players and other athletes who decided to take a knee at games during the national anthem in protest of police violence and systemic racism. Meanwhile, football fans, and by football fans we mean white football fans, flipped cars, smashed the window of a Macy's store, destroyed the inside of a convenience store, stole a police horse and rode it around town, destroyed the entrance of a Ritz-Carlton hotel, pulled light poles down, and looted a gas station. And all of that resulted in only 3 arrests. Speaking of arrest, when is Justin Timberlake going to be apprehended for his consistent offense toward beloved Black icons? Social media is unhappy with Justin Timberlake's Prince homage during his Super Bowl halftime performance. While Prince's estate did approve of his use of a projection image during the cringeworthy performance, fans say Prince would not have approved of any connection or favors from Timberlake and would like to remind us all of his poor history and lack of respect to the artist. First, social media felt Timberlake's album release party was held at Prince's Minneapolis estate, Paisley Park, and disrespected Prince. It wasn't just the location that Prince fans were upset about, it was the fact that Justin Timberlake served alcohol at the party. Prince was a devout Jehovah's Witness and abstained from drinking, and many felt it was disrespectful of Timberlake to have people drinking at Prince's estate. When that party was revealed earlier this month, Prince fans were quick to remind us as well via social media that Timberlake dissed Prince in the past on Timbaland's 2007 song, Give It To Me. In the song, Justin sang, "We missed you on the charts last week. Damn, that's right, you weren't there. Now if Sexy never left, then why is everybody on my ish? Don't hate on me because you didn't come up with it." The lyrics were in reference to Timberlake's 2006 song, Sexy Back, when Prince commented on it during a performance at a post-Emmy Awards party in 2006, where Prince was reported of saying, "For whoever is claiming they are bringing Sexy back, Sexy never left." Fans have also pointed to another offense in January 2007 when Timberlake gave the award for Best Original Song at the Golden Globes. Prince was the winner for his track Songs of the Heart from the animated movie Happy Feet. Prince wasn't there to accept his award, so Timberlake did so on his behalf and made fun of Prince's short stature by lowering the mic stand and accepting that award. With regards to Super Bowl performances, Justin Timberlake left a sour taste in the mouths of many of Janet Jackson's fans for his role in Nipplegate 10 years ago, for which Janet Jackson received incredible backlash, while he shifted all the blame and attacks to her to emerge unscathed. Many on social media supported Janet Jackson yesterday with the hashtag Janet Jackson Appreciation Day, sharing positive messages about her and her character and her music, and throwing immense shade to Timberlake. Good for them. Hashtag culture vulture. Back in courts, Larry Nasser, former doctor for Michigan State University and U.S. Gymnastics, appeared in court on Friday for sentencing in another county and has received another 40 to 175 years in prison. Nasser appeared in Eaton County, Michigan, this time with charges stemming from sexual abuse that occurred at Twistar's gym, where Nasser was a fixture for many years, preying on budding gymnasts with this reputation as a healer who could get any injured athlete competition ready. This Eaton County court was the scene for the now gone viral video of a father of 3 Nasser victims lunging at him in an attempt to throw hands. Randall Margraves, age 58, has since apologized for the outburst, and the judge let him go without any punishment or charges. I personally noticed in the video how no police officer used excessive force or pulled any weapons on this man to restrain him. Anywho, Nassar's sentence on Friday is in addition to being sentenced a couple of weeks ago to 40 to 175 years in Ingham County for molesting 7 girls and 60 years in federal prison for possession of child pornography. Meanwhile, in connection with this case, Michigan Attorney General Bill Schweddy has announced that his office has launched a full investigation into nearly 2 decades of sexual misconduct at Michigan State University in an effort to understand how the disgraced former USA Gymnastics doctor was able to abuse young women for years before the university took action. As investigations move forward, another resignation has come down within USA Gymnastics. This time, it's the coordinator of the U.S. Women's Gymnastics, named Valery Lukin, a former Soviet Olympic champion and the father of another gold medal winner. He said that the present climate causes him and his family too much stress, difficulty, and uncertainty. He has not been named in any of the lawsuits stemming from Nassar's abuse, and there has been no suggestion that he knew of any of the wrongdoing. However, a member of the 2010 World Championship team has criticized him during her victim impact statement, saying that he contributed to the culture that allowed Nasser to flourish. USA Gymnastics did not immediately respond to any requests for comment on his resignation. He served as coordinator since 2016. According to the Michigan judge, Nassar's latest sentencing hearing, Larry Nassar's accuser count is up to 265. Speaking of corruption, the Baltimore Police Department is currently in court over one of the biggest scandals in history of American law enforcement. The corruption case is full of intrigue as police reveal secrets that sound like something out of an urban fiction novel or a lost season of The Wire. It has revealed how one of America's largest cities just happened to be filled with crooked cops, but no one seems to be talking about it outside of Baltimore. According to the Baltimore Sun, it started when a 19-year-old woman from New Jersey overdosed in 2011, and authorities began tracing the origin of the drugs. It led them to a Baltimore drug clue and discovery that a Baltimore police officer was involved. By the time they finished investigating, 8 members of the Elite Gun Trace Task Force had been charged with crimes ranging from racketeering to robbery. Here are some of the examples of the stories heard in court. 1. A corrupt squad stopped a drug dealer during a traffic stop, robbed him of $6,500, then went to the man's home without a warrant and took another $100,000 out of his safe. Another officer had a technique of driving fast at groups of people, slamming on the brakes, and then chasing whoever ran. He also believed that young men with backpacks were dope boys or people who drove Honda Accords with tinted windows. And then there was the revelation that the supervisor of the unit instructed officers to carry toy guns just in case they found themselves in a jam and needed to plant one. When one of the officers, Marcus Taylor, was arrested, officials couldn't figure out why he had a toy gun in his glove compartment. Well, now they know why. These revelations aren't speculation. 6 of the 8 indicted officers have agreed to cooperate with federal law enforcement agents and are testifying in open court. Prime News reported weeks ago about the officer who was scheduled to offer evidence against the crooked cops and was mysteriously found shot in the head with his own weapon the day before he was set to testify. In political news, 2 senators are eager to see Congress start crossing items off its long to-do list. They introduced a bipartisan plan today to settle 2 of the most pressing parts of immigration debate and let lawmakers move on to other pressing issues. Senator John McCain, Republican of Arizona, and Christopher A. Coons, a Democrat of Delaware, formally introduced a bill today that would grant permanent legal status to undocumented immigrants known as Dreamers and start bolstering security along the U.S.-Mexico border. The bill does not authorize spending $25 billion that Trump has asked for to fortify the border with a wall and a fence. The plan would also grant legal status to Dreamers who have been in the country since 2013, which would be a much larger pool of undocumented immigrants than the 1.8 million Trump currently supports legalizing. The bill says nothing about curbing family-based legal migration or making changes to the diversity lottery program, which were 2 priorities for Trump and the Republican Party. There is very little time left to solve this issue before the March 5th deadline to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. McCain said that this bill would address the most urgent priorities of legalizing the status of Dreamers and making changes on border security and allow Congress to move on to other things. Speaking of political moves forward, a couple of recent news items reinforced the perception of a backlash against the LGBTQ movement. In both the United States and in Europe, it seems that support for the homosexual and transgender community is waning. At the very least, there are signs that these feelings are not going away anytime soon. A survey commissioned by GLAAD suggests that LGBTQ social acceptance is actually declining. Specifically, the survey reflects a decline with people's comfort year over year in every LGBTQ situation, losing ground that had been gained over the last 4 years. 3 of the most personal interaction scenarios experienced significant declines, with more people reporting discomfort when learning a family member is LGBTQ, a child's teacher is LGBTQ, and if their doctor is LGBTQ. The survey also found a decrease in Americans who identify as strong supporters of the LGBTQ agenda in all situations, as opposed to only qualified supporters of certain situations. Of course, GLAAD blames this on Donald Trump. However, the Trump administration has been consistent in promoting LGBT rights internationally. A couple of weeks ago, Prime News reported that the U.S. isn't the only nation with immigration policy issues, as Israel refuses to extend citizenship or legal immigration status rights to African immigrants, rather offering jail time or deportation only. Despite being frowned upon by the UN Refugee Agency in violation of an international refugee treaty, Israel has started issuing deportation notices to African asylum seekers. On Sunday, the first wave of notices were distributed to men who are in the country without families. The 20,000 men who are not held in the country's open detention facilities are expected to leave within 60 days or be imprisoned indefinitely. Refugees are being asked to leave for Rwanda or back to their home countries, but Rwanda has rejected claims of signing any controversial deal to take African migrants from Israel. Israeli officials have said the decision to refrain from deporting parents, women, and children will change in the future. This past December, the Israeli parliament passed a bill authorizing the government to force asylum seekers out of the country. Currently, Israel is home to 40,000 asylum seekers, many who arrived over the last 10 years fleeing war, torture, and other mistreatment. Back in the U.S., a biohacker has just injected himself with a do-it-yourself herpes treatment and wants you all to do the same. Aaron Trawick, president and CEO of Ascendance Biomedical, made himself a guinea pig during a Facebook Live video this past Sunday afternoon as he tried out a highly experimental, never-before gene-altering herpes treatment made by his own company, a 20-person, largely self-funded biotech startup. This past November, the FDA explicitly warned consumers about do-it-yourself gene therapies, but as Treywick took the stage at Body Hacks, a biohacking and transhumanism conference in Austin, Texas, he didn't look too worried about the consequences. Treywick said his goal is to get potentially life-saving treatments out of the science lab and into patients' hands faster than pharmaceutical companies can. By making himself a public guinea pig for the company's Herpes Cure, a disease he caught from a partner 5 years ago, he said he's promoting transparency in science. He has likened himself to Jonas Salk, who developed the first effective polio vaccine, and Louis Pasteur, the pioneer of pasteurizing bacteria. To others, such comparisons couldn't be further from the truth, as Ascendance has revealed very few details about the science of its herpes treatment, and it hasn't been tested on animals. Given that other gene therapies have taken decades to develop, experts are skeptical that this one actually works. But this isn't Ascendant's first demonstration. Last October, Tristan Roberts, another employee, injected himself with an experimental HIV treatment, also supplied by the company, and streamed it all on Facebook Live. The FDA continues to condemn do-it-yourself gene therapy, saying that the sale of these products are unsafe and against the law. The agency also noted that human clinical trials for gene therapies must be registered with the FDA. The company plans to live stream the results of Treywick's blood samples, success or failure, within a couple of weeks to see if the treatment gene is present and whether the herpes virus has decreased at all. In more science news, tomorrow is a very big day for private space flight and for space exploration in general. If all goes according to plan, SpaceX's huge new Falcon Heavy rocket will launch for the first time tomorrow, February 6th, from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, during a 3-hour window that opens at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk announced his company's plans to develop the Falcon Heavy in 2011. The Falcon will be the most powerful American rocket since NASA's famous Saturn V, which launched astronauts to the moon back in the Apollo days. Allegedly. This immense power is part of the reason for all of the excitement. Another factor is its very low price tag of only $90 million. In comparison, the most powerful rocket operating today costs between $300 and $500 million. As a result, the Heavy Falcon could help open up lots of opportunities for spaceflight. You can watch the live liftoff tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern at space.com. In more intergalactic news, astrophysicists have found a population of planets beyond our edge of the galaxy. Until now, the only planets ever discovered sat within the boundaries of the Milky Way. Now, more than 3,500 exoplanets have been discovered outside of the Milky Way galaxy for the first time. An exoplanet, which is one that orbits a star outside of our solar system, sits some 3.8 billion years away and were found using telescopes and a technique called microlensing to find extremely distant objects. The astrophysicists who published the results are Asian and Hispanic. Xinyu Dai and Eduardo Guerras, respectively from the University of Oklahoma. Their results have been published in the Astrophysical Journal. What do you guys think about that? Let's take a look at some comments a little later after Jayco gives us the sports stories for today.
Jayco. You can follow me at Jayco is it. And here is our top story from the Prime News Sports Desk. The 2018 Winter Olympics is about to begin. February 9th is Friday. The Olympic Games will open in Pyeongchang, South Korea. This year's U.S. team is the most diverse it's ever had. There are 10 African American teammates on the U.S. Winter Olympics team, which is part of the largest black contingent in Winter Games history. So we're talking all countries, the amount of African Americans, Africans, Caribbean, black participants is the largest it's ever been in the Winter Games. The U.S. team also has 11 Asian Americans and 2 openly gay team members. So there's quite a diverse group as comparison to previous Winter Games. So I wanted to introduce a couple of them so you guys can, know who to follow. get a little bit of interest in this year's team. I'm not normally what I would call a patriot. I don't usually get excited about a specific, thing when it relates to this country, but I've always had a thing for the Olympic Games. Winter and summer, they get me excited, so I'm hoping to get you guys excited too. So first, meet Carrie Jones. She's from Fort Hood, Texas. She is one of three African American females on a 4-person bobsled team. So out of 4 people, 3 of them are African American. Carrie ran track at Baylor University, and she actually graduated from high school when she was 16 years old.
How old is she?
How old is she now? She is after college age.
Oh, okay. So I'll go back.
Okay. Thank you. Meet Shady Davis from Chicago, Illinois, Chi-Town. He is actually the first ever African-American athlete to medal in an individual sport at the Olympic Winter Games. He won gold in 2006 in the 100-meter speed skating event. 2006. He was the first African-American, not male, not the specific sport, but period, to win the Winter Game medal. So that's pretty impressive. 12 years later, and he is actually still a valid threat to medal for Team USA. Meet Mame Bine, the first African-American woman to qualify for the U.S. Olympic speed skating team. She's just 18 years old. She is cold. She's a beast. She's been skating, I think, since she was 6 years old. According to the coach, she's the energy, she's the motivation behind the U.S. speed skating team. If he feels the energy is down, he tries to crack a joke, a smile, or a laugh from her. He says the entire team brightens up. Meet Jordan Greenway. Again, we're all these first. The first African-American man to make the U.S. Olympic hockey team. Greenway was actually drafted by the NHL team, the Minnesota Wild, but instead he decided to go back to college and continue his education at Boston University. He said he wants to use his platform to inspire black youth. Pretty impressive. And now finally, meet Miss Elena Myers-Taylor. Now what's significant about her? She's the driver for the U.S. women's bobsledding team, so she's another one of those 3 African-American bobsled team members. However, because of her, we have this high number of African Americans on the U.S. Olympic team. She had an idea to start recruiting in other athletics, minorities from track and field, from football, from other sports for the U.S. bobsled team. There are 3 or 4 total women on the bobsled team, African American, and 2, I think, males on the male bobsled team. So you can thank this woman right here for the historic number of African Americans in this year's Winter Olympic Games. So I hope you guys a little bit. Yeah, it was a very smart idea on her end to go outside of some of these conventional places to find people and said, look, I'm going to find these people that maybe not are going to go pro in this particular sport, but still have a talent. They still have the athletic ability, and they could contribute to the team. And here they are. So I hope you guys are excited about it. I'm definitely excited. I will be doing reviews of the Olympic Games throughout. So I want you guys to tune in. We'll post more about that later. In other news, Appalachian State University recently suspended white racist college tennis player Spencer Brown after North Carolina A&T African-American player John Wilson tweeted that his on-court rival told him, "At least I know my dad." Yeah, he said that to the gentleman. He said, among other racially motivated comments, he said during their weekend match. Wilson, he's a senior class president, a top tennis player, but apparently this jerky-ass kid thinks it's okay. He knows Wilson's family enough to make a comment like that. What's interesting is Appalachian State also, after investigating, suspended the coach. Among other things, this is real, one of his responses to the incident was, no, he's not racist. We have a black player on our team.
Why is that always the go-to?
But that's worse than I have a black friend, because this guy didn't even choose his teammate. So why does that mean? Because he plays with somebody, he probably doesn't want to play with this guy. So there you go. White people behaving badly and white splaining incorrectly.
Can you go back to the girl? Or was that the end of your stories? You got another story?
I got another story. I do got another story. The Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the New England Patriots in Super Bowl LII. I don't know what number that is. 41-33. The Eagles' perennial backup, often traded 3 times in the last 5 years, quarterback Nick Foles, he actually started out on Philly, left when 2 other teams came back to Philly as the backup, outscored the Patriots and denied Tom Brady from his likely last chance, because he's an old man now, at a Super Bowl victory. They're not going back next year. I predicted that they were going to win this one. I did. I actually made a wager online, so I don't know if I'm going to do this on TBT on Thursday or next week's Prime, but I did say I will go ahead and, sport a bunch of things that the NFL sponsors, because I've been boycotting the NFL. I've been boycotting their sponsors. So I was wrong. It wasn't as predictable as I thought. They switched up the narrative a little bit. La-di-da. However, I'm very glad that they did, because it spares us from the narrative that we were definitely going to hear about Brady's legacy, for now at least, that he was the greatest. This was going to be his cementing on how he was the greatest, blah, 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 he's the greatest, blah, 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 blah. But also, excuse my language, fuck Boston. I'm glad they lost. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, they're one of the most annoying fan bases in the world, and there are a lot of fan bases. I am not a fan of the Chicago Cubs as a St. Louis Cardinals fan. The Cubs are an obnoxious fan base, as you can hear. See? And I would still take him every day of the week or twice on Sunday over Boston fans. And look at this. The Boston Globe did a study, and they polled African Americans and said, how welcoming are these cities to African Americans? Boston was overwhelmingly. Number 2 is Charlotte, North Carolina. They had a white supremacy rally, and Boston is still less welcoming than Charlotte. Let that sink in. So Boston really don't deserve no more championships. I am all the way rooting against the Celtics this year. Screw Boston, screw the Patriots. I'm still not watching the NFL, but I am glad that the Eagles won. That's all the stories that I have today. Raybo wants me to go back around to this picture right here. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the sports segment today. I'm glad you guys were watching. Stay tuned for more Prime News as I go back to Trezene.
Listen. What? Jacob, you have some comments on your sports stories. One is Corian Gibson said, we need to stop looking for approval from the crackers, unquote.
Right, that's true. That's true. Crackers need to stop. African Americans need to stop looking to the crackers. I agree with that 100%. We've discussed that on several shows, including Sunday Edition.
And he also said it's 52.
What's
Super Bowl 52.
Oh, that's what LII means?
Yes,
Whee!
yes.
Super Bowl 52. Thank you for studying Roman numerals, Corian, because I didn't.
And then he said they had to switch it up. I don't know what that was in reference to.
So the outcome, the narrative.
Oh, yeah, the narrative of the Super Bowl. I agree with that. They kind of do. Otherwise, people were just going to stop watching. And this is a great picture. She had another picture. I didn't even put it on there because I didn't want to be accused of objectifying a woman. So
I could be accused.
This was the picture on the. This is actually the way I found out about her. If you go to the Olympic U.S. team website, this is the main picture on the front page of the website. So go ahead, Miss Carrie Jones. All right. Any other comments?
Nah, just some comments on Prime News. I can switch it back.
That's for you then.
That's for me. So Tanisha D. Newman Pruitt said she thinks the USA Gymnastics needs to start over from scratch. Doesn't think the resignations are enough. They need a cleansing, and she wants the whole gymnastic board thrown away. And the thing is that they've resigned already. Everybody on the board has already resigned, and I think the question now is who is going to be put on the board in their place And who even wants that job
They should have
in
actually
the first
brought.
place?
They should have brought Condi in for this instead of the NCAA basketball. Screw basketball. Let's get American pride back in the Olympics.
Yeah, good luck with that. Now that's an open letter. Good luck with that job. I would not want to sit on a board because your whole board position, you're going to be dealing with this backlash. You're going to be dealing with everything. I don't want that job. Get me when it's worked out.
Yeah, and everybody's going to question every move you make.
Every
Is this
single move.
preventing this kind of thing from happening again?
Let's see. And then we have a great comment. Best comment of the night from Anthony Williams, who said, y'all, in reference to the finding of new planets, said, y'all can find planets in another solar system, but can't find white privilege. Listen, accurate.
Hi-yo.
They can discover all this extra and cannot for the life of them want to get anything with systemic racism or privilege or whatever you want to call it. Very good comment, Mr. Anthony Williams. All right, with that, we're going to wrap up Prime News. I think tomorrow we have on slate at 8:30 p.m. The Revolution will be on screen for the pregame show for Black Lightning. And then on Wednesday, I will be on camera doing the pregame show for the assassination of Gianni Versace. So with that, we're going to wrap up Prime News. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we love you guys. We'll be back with Prime News and True Baller Thursday and the Scandal Wind Down show on Thursday beginning at 7 p.m. ish. All right, see you guys next time.